Welcome back. Now we will start with the plenary session. I request Professor Babu, Chairman for this conference, to deliver his plenary talk on role of jute geotextiles in infrastructure development. Over to you, sir.
Good morning to you all. Welcome back for this first session. And it's a pleasure to talk to you on the role of jute geotextiles in infrastructure development. The term geosynthetics, people are familiar. I think some of the field engineers may not be familiar, but I should say that the geosynthetics have made a significant impact. As a civil engineer, I think people are only used to knowing steel, concrete, and soil and rock, something like that. But geosynthetics have made a significant difference in design, in construction, and in practical practice as well. So, as I said, it's a very good performance of structures, cost effectiveness, and contribution to sustainability-based designs. So then, these are all essentially the products of polymers, and the issue is that, of course, we have varieties of products like geotextiles, geogrids, geocells, geonets, geomembranes, and all of that. Like you can see some of them here: geotextiles, geogrids, geomembranes, geocells. One important thing that we should recognize is that there are various functions we have: separation, filtration, drainage, reinforcement, stabilization, barriers, and erosion protection. Just want to tell you that it's like maybe some of these functions are so important. Some of the field engineers that we are here needs to realize that the separation function of a geotextile can significantly help. Like what you have as a subgrade and you have a base or a subbase, without geotextile there is a possibility of intermixing. And if you put a separate layer, like with a geotextile, it can be a jute geotextile or any other product. So it just sees that they perform their functions properly, because you must have designed this for some subgrade CBR, and it have this aggregate layer will have some load carrying capacity. But over a period of time, the possibility is that if they mix up, it's like good plus bad becomes bad. So there is no use. But if you have a separator, it significantly improves the performance. So that's one thing. And we know that the filtration is something that's so essential, because all these embankments, roads are all influenced by the effect of water. And you see that when you have soil and aggregate, they mix up with water, it's a problem. Like we see a lot of poor roads. Image of the country itself has taken a beating because of the poor roads that we have. And if you put a proper geotextile here, the advantage is that it only filters the water, and the performance, the structural performance of individual layers. You have an aggregate here, you have a subbase here, you have other layers like wearing course and bitumen layer. They're expected to perform in their own way, because when you design that they behave in a way that they're all independent, they behave very well. But under the influence of water and the traffic loading, everything gets mixed up. But if you have a geotextile layer as a separator, as a filtration layer, then it helps a lot. And this is about drainage layer, like particularly in places like Bangalore or even anywhere. Like you need to design this. The problem is that even in Indian Roads Congress, our designs are not very, very critical. I think you can blame the flooding. So many places we have flooding. So the geotextiles provide the drainage function, and the reinforcement, like particularly when the loads are high, you're trying to talk about whether it's a village road or a normal thing, there is a load, the soil, in fact, I must say that I'm happy that Hiramath is here. Like we did a lot of practical studies in Karnataka, like we were in search of poor roads in KRRDA. One soil CBR of 0.112, then we put some geogrids, geocells, and we found that these materials are much better. So here we are using this reinforcement effect, and then it was because they take the load. It's now the load on the soil is reduced. This is a typical thing, like you construct an embankment, but then if you just over a period of time without a geotextile, what's going to happen is that you have a distressed pavement, you have potholes, and then this layer also gets affected, and it's all an issue. Like, it's an engineering structure. Actually, what is happening, people think that structure is only a building. Structural means some problem is there. Earth and dam is also a structure. Earth embankment is also a structure. It has a definite lifetime. But engineers need to realize that we need to make sure that all these layers perform their functions properly. without sacrificing their performance. So if you are able to provide geotextiles everywhere, then you have really a better performance. We have seen a lot of experiments done on that. And this is something that I'm a small example, like we see that every year during monsoon, we say that embankment has failed, this embankment failed, there is a flooding here. I mean, we're used to that, but do you want to allow that? No. There is a possibility that you can really put a proper drainage layer and a geocomposite when there is an infiltration, and then subsurface drainage, surface drainage. In fact, some of my friends, Mini was here, I don't know. So we are trying to look at, in fact, Vasant is here, who is from CRRI. We are looking at IRC guidelines on drainage. Are we trying to understand them properly? So we are trying to look at all these systems properly, because we don't want the drainage to be affecting our structures, and we should be happy that geotextiles will help us. Why not? That's the way that it is. Like, so these are all some geotextile, car geotextile or a jute geotextile facing. You can have some structures like reinforcement of slopes, reinforcement of embankment, or a soft soil foundation, load transfer platforms, and all of that. People say that the geotextile share is increased. In fact, last week somebody came to me that it is so, we talk about so much potential of geotextiles in the country. Why it is not taking off, they wanted to know. I think we should really debate on your panel discussion what is wrong with us. I'll tell you why is that. I think some of you must be able to highlight why we are missing this important infrastructure development and geosynthetics, how they can play a role here. So why do you use natural geotextiles here? Actually, I should say that some of the applications are short-term requirements, and they can be filled up by natural geotextiles. What are those short-term requirements? Like I was talking to our colleague here, that if you take a beginning itself some medicine, after that you don't need to take a medicine lifelong, right? Like otherwise, are you happy with lifelong medicine like in allopathic or something like that? So that is a choice that you have to make. So the long-term use of geotextiles, which is geosynthetic materials, have an issue. Like even I'm actually a member of the International Council of Geotechnical Society. People are debating, are we trying to contribute to pollution, right? I think our commissioner spoke about it. The use of long-term use of geotextiles, environmental factors such as all of this, they have a degradation of the polymers. Polymer chain gets degraded, they're buried in soil. Like people, there is a big hue and cry about it. So the other thing is a lot of environmental conditions. The possibility is that there is a degradation. So it's essential that use natural materials, and also when the requirements are short term. I mean that I will explain why it is. And sustainability based designs are very, very important. Like people are asking, you have to show, right? Even if I use geotextiles, I should say in a regular case, what is the thickness, that reduction in aggregate base thickness I should show. What is the footprint in terms of carbon footprint reduction I should show. So what is this standard application areas? Like I just mentioned about geotextile road construction for separation, filtration, drainage. Of course, reinforcement also can be used. Embankment and soft soils as reinforcement at the base to improve short-term stability. I'll give an example. Prefabricated vertical drains to increase consolidation times. Erosion control in natural slopes to resist rain and wind forces. Slope protection in embankments. Coated textiles can be used as barriers in canal linings. Silt fences in mining and other areas to prevent silt accumulation, right? So I want to tell you what IAC has been doing. It is a pleasure, I should say that. I think Professor S.D. Ramaswamy, who was actually when geotextile, they started research, they engaged Professor S.D. Ramaswamy. He's from Singapore. He was a faculty member in Singapore but he is an IAC student, okay? He was giving lectures in IAC and talking about what is new. So all that report that he prepared for Jute, he was giving us lectures here in the summer. And he's from Mysore. He comes here, goes to Mysore, gives lectures here. It was a very interesting interaction with him. And he gave those lectures. And I think this is another important thing that I want to say. In 1994, he clearly showed in Singapore that there is a field embankment. They can jute drains, how they are effective. They have used it. But in India, we are not using. And I should say in 2017, they used in Australia. Yes. Why is that? So 30 years back, it was established by the Jute department. And 30 years, and the soft soil is there everywhere. In Karnataka, soft soil is there. Kerala, soft soil is there. West Bengal, soft soil is there. Soft soil is there, and solution is also there. Jute geotextile or a called geotextile. So In fact, our colleague Srinivasmurthy showed that even after the degradation of geotextiles, a filter cake is formed at the interface. That's another interesting thing, that normally you saw the mixing of things, but when you have a textile, the cake, that filter bridge gets developed on the top of it. So, and we also did, that I'll show how it is. The tests were done on coir PVDs we did, and we showed that the synthetic performance, but the synthetic geosynthetic performance is very, very comparable to coir PVDs or even geotextiles. They're good. So, we did some more studies on the comparative study of different products in bamboo and all that. I'll show you some examples here. So, this is that standard first result on the coir, jute, where without jute fabric, the load deformation, this is given by Professor Ramaswamy in his seminal paper. And with jute, what happens? It's an incremental load carrying capacity. This talks about load repetitions. Now, it is very good, very bad here, but with load repetitions, how it improves the rut depth. The unpaved roads, the rut depth. So, he showed it 30 years back, right? This is some test that we did in IAC that I think I said Professor Srinivasmurthy, Professor Manoj, actually Manoj is my friend and who was doing PhD at the time. He did all that experiments here, and he was able to show that the tests were done for 1.5 years, okay? And how is the flow rate if you put a geotextile here? This is a normal soil, but the moment you put a geotextile here, the filtration performance is significantly improved under different hydraulic gradients, and discharge was good. This is an interesting thing. This is the filter cake formation. Like, say for example, the moment you put a geotextile, this sort of material gets developed with the result that there is a gradual movement of water and then it goes out, and then even if this get degraded, the whole structure remains intact. So that's a hypothesis here, and of course it's valid also by the experiments. If you use that way, if you are able to use geotextiles in roads, it's good. This is another important thing. When you're trying to construct an embankment in a soft soil, right? You can't even walk, right? In some places, you have to put a loading platform and all that. So you will put what we do in the normal practice in the soft soil is that we do what is called a stage construction. Stage construction means you allow some load and then wait for some time. So consolidation takes place. 4 pressures completely dissipate. Then you again, maybe 2 meters again you fill it up, 3 meters you fill up. So you go on constructing like this, but it takes time. Engineers cannot wait. So what happens if you do that? The rate of suddenly, if without even understanding, the factor of safety, which is it comes down and it becomes critical and it fails. In fact, I have seen in many places in Kandla and all that, there is a failure of the embankments if you do very fast. But if you have a geotextile layer here, right? The geotextile is a temporary solution because loading is so fast. So during that loading, this member takes care of the load. So that's it. So 1.5 years it takes load. So you can see that always the load is, so the factor of safety is always more and it's safe. That's a good thing. So in fact, we did an experiment in Kakinada. Like I was in CRRI from IAC. I had 2 of my Dr. Bindu Madhava. In fact, my friend is here. Dr. Vasant is here. So we did 3 or 4 projects in Central Road Institute. One is on the embankment and soft soil. And the other thing I will just show. There, we wanted to improve the subgrade properties. Then CBR value, when we showed, it was increased from 2 to 4. And this is, actually, Dr. Bindu Madhava is here. Okay, no. Actually, these photos are circulated everywhere on internet. I only can recognize that he's Bindu Madhava, nobody else. Everybody, actually, these slides are circulating. And after that, nobody followed it up. It's only slides are circulating and not technique. Right? We'll bother about slides. I know. So I think we should have, say, Dr. Bindu Madhava is there. I think Raghuveer Rao knows him. You can recognize, I hope, right? You can see him. And the other day I talked to him, do you have that paper? He said, no, none of us have those papers, actually, 30 years back. So this is what he did. So in fact, we did another interesting work. In fact, the paper was published, but what happens to the water content there? You can see a lot of water content reduction, and there is a consolidation that's happening, which you wanted, right? You put a geotextile, water gets reduced there, which is good. So density increased and all of that, something. There's a finished road. So I should say that we did this work in, when I was in CRRI, and we had a similar work, but unfortunately, maybe I was trying to reach Vasant if you can. So we had all the world records after that I left here. So We did in Kandla Port Trust, soil is so soft. I have seen that failures, like, they wanted road construction very fast because the movement of materials is important for them, but you can't construct roads there. So geotextiles, these things are very important. So they were using it. We did some test tracks there. Then we also did lot of RE walls for filters, right? I had some paper on that, but we didn't really take it. The other important point just want to talk about, so the other project that I was mentioning was that use of combination of different fibers, right? Jute geotextiles and with another coir mixing 50-50, 40-40. We did a BTRA project with, we did long time back. This is another thing that I did in IACMAG, like coir board wanted. This is actually a blend of fiber, sisal and coir. And drains I mentioned, the jute drains. This is a coir drain, and they developed and they found, can you use it for ground improvement? I said, yeah, why not? Then I looked at all the flow properties. They're excellent for different hydraulic gradients. This is actually comparison of the natural geotextile and the synthetic material like white PVD, black PVD, there are so many. So the performance was excellent. This is the best part of the result, that if I just for a typical soil in Kerala, like say if you do a normal consolidation actually we want a 90% consolidation, it will take a lot of time, maybe 5-6 years if I extend this line, if I want 90%. But with a coir geotextile, with a proper or a jute geotextile with proper consolidation property assessment, it becomes like this. So you can see that within 7 or 8 months, you will achieve full consolidation, which is given by jute material. Why this is not being done is still a million-dollar question to me. I asked my friend so many times, I don't know, whenever he meets, actually, give me a research project like this, otherwise I don't do any research on it. I told him many times, I don't know. You can ask him. I was angry with him also. I don't mind telling. Okay? No. Let me tell you, I spoke to somebody yesterday in Jadavpur University. They said, hey, you have a soft soil problem, you have a jute material here, what are you doing? You want to use stone columns and all. Stone columns are okay, but the soils need a minimum strength to even install stone columns, which can be obtained by jute. Why did you do that? He said, yeah, Lee, please send them to me. So I think your job is next week you should meet him, right? Okay, so I just want to say that this is a very good this thing. This is another thing that what I was just telling. They did after 20 years, say 1994, Professor S.D. Ramaswamy said it's all done, please go it in the field. Then again, Jute Board, I think they sponsored a project in Australia, as if we are not here. So it's a beautiful embankment and they did PVDs and all that. It's a very good work. And it's done by Professor Buddhiratna. He's a very expert. There's no doubt about it. And it's good. I mean, we should thank that, in fact, Jute Board has taken this initiative. But let us start that work in India. Actually, we don't want any field trials more. It should be a part of the embankment. Actually, the rules say that you construct an embankment and, already say 10 kilometers of road is done. So first 1 or half a meter or half a kilometer could be a trial embankment. Once it is successful, you have the same practice ahead. You try to implement that in Calcutta or wherever it is, Tripura or whatever, right? Okay, so this is actually, I should talk about this project again. We are trying to use bamboo. Of course, we wanted to use jute geotextile at the bottom. I think Hiriamath is here. He's really a very good KRDA from KRDA. When he handled a program, he brought 30 people, 30 engineers. We struggled a lot because the engineers, the organizations, they give simply a letter. But actually contractors refused to do the work. We had to run around the contractors to convince them that this is the best for that, and we really got a very good result. Actually, ideally, we wanted a geotextile here at the bottom because this is for reinforcement function. We got very good results. This is actually the condition of the road, and this is after construction. Okay, this is all that we were looking. This is bamboo and all of that. Erosion control applications, they are very good. Like, this is gully erosion, canal bank erosion, we don't want. I think the best example, the advantage is that I think this is the biggest application of the jute geotextile products. Like, because the problems that you have are that the interaction of surface waters with sediments and washout sediments, which can be prevented. The topographic integrity, the design, whatever is the slope you want, it can be there. Preserve soil for farming, that's another thing. like preserve embankment and foundation integrity for structures made of or founded on soil. So there is a lot of things, like I think whenever you get down from Bangalore airport, you see the beautiful highway embankments. You can see that all this material so nicely done. Bangalore welcomes, but the rest we don't have anywhere. You know, these are all geotextile, and they made a combination, okay, all of this. So what I want to say is that there is a need to use geotextiles in applicable infrastructure products. You should identify, understand. It's not like, you know, I see that they do a lot of trials without understanding what is the trial, what is the output of it. So let us not be blind there. Government bodies and organizations need to make use of these technologies. It's good that there is IRC codes and all of these codes, but if there is no practice and only for demonstration purpose for 30 years, I think it's not okay. It's hoped that awareness programs are developed. Of course, we are doing it. Case studies are systematically analyzed. Actually, I see that many people do it. In fact, KRD, I think they have 10% of your projects, you have a trial project, right? They have a mandate, I think. Even NHI also they have. Now, I know that. They can do it on service roads, okay? They don't need to do on a main thing, service roads. In fact, I was asking a couple of times to IRC people, they can let us allow in service roads. What is your problem? In embankments, they can do it. It's not a serious thing. And even in a highway embankment, it can be done, right? So, one should also, so systematically, whatever is the thing there, you should be able to explain and analyze why it is beneficial, and quantitative analysis, and also benefits in terms of sustainability. In fact, we did for KRDA project. In fact, that was the best part of it. And when there is a lot of stress on the environment because of the plastics and all of that, I think beautiful statements were made by our president of the function today. And so when people there's a lot of research on biodegradable polymers in IAC, but you have a natural option here. I mean, it's simple, right? Age-old medicine type of thing. So I think we have a lot of things to do. So thank you very much. Yeah. Any questions? I'll be happy to clarify. Otherwise, I think you can start the show.
Thank you, sir. Can we have one or two questions?
Thank you, sir. It is a nice presentation, first of all. We learned a lot from you regarding different applications. Basically, Jute Geotextile, we have also, I am from NIT Durgapur, sir. We studied the application of Jute in road projects. The one thing that I have seen based on research study, I will also explain in my lecture, that basically the theme is that this increase consolidation is happening when they're laying the jute. It is a biodegradable matter that we know. There is a attack of microbial attack. It degrades quickly. But still, I have seen that if we place it in laterite soil, so there is we did the degradation studies after submergence of more than 3 months. 3 months means you can consider 3 years. In real scenario. So in that case, we have seen there is an increase in strength in jute geotextile, not decrease, because degradation study, I don't know, there is a laterite soil of iron precipitation. So mechanism we have to explore why it is happening, but there is no degradation. But we did some different treatment there in jute geotextile, but there is a enhancement in strength rather degradation. So that is, we are really surprised that jute geotextile can be used in road projects and other application areas also. So this is really very it's a fabulous thing, jute geotextile. That I want to say. I want to learn from you the mechanism later on, not right now, but really there is something is there happening.
Yeah, one more, thank you very much. One more, this thing is a landfill, a lot of dump sites are there. And the problem is jute geotextile has a good moisture retention properties. They are quite helpful in trying to prevent the infiltration, like if you coat it or do something, like it can be a component of what is that landfill covers. They use it, and because we don't want a lot of infiltration to get into the dump sites, a lot of leachate generation, but if you have a jute geotextile or a barrier material made of it, because in the concept in abroad is that they use a capillary barrier, but the capillary means moisture it will take, and it should not allow to go, which jute geotextile can do it. Just I didn't add it here. Any questions? Otherwise,
as an Indian Road Congress member, I would like to mention here the efforts made by the Indian Road Congress, because the implementing agency is state government, and state government will never take seriously to introduce the new innovations how you will be able to solve this type of innovations?
First of all, this is not an innovation. First of all, we should not confuse ourselves with this. This is not at all an innovation. It is a common sense. 30 years back it was done. I hope our engineers have, let us push them. There is no innovation, madam. Absolutely, it is a common thing. Because what is done in the field, when you, as an engineer, if it is usefully use it. That is a basic engineering thing, engineering sense. If you still want some codes and all that, I think we are.
If any engineer working in the office, if he projects it, it will come back to him only with a negative result.
No, that is where you should, your senior persons like that.
That is why I am sharing here.
Exactly, you're right.
One who tried.
You're right. So that's what we'll do our best. I mean, definitely. I think we are also, myself and Vasant, we are doing our best in IRC. They don't want any testing, but we want testing. All that. We are trying to do our best, and of course, people like we need people like Mahesh who are really ready to take it in the field. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for highlighting the different research applications for jute geotextiles. Definitely, the session would have opened up different avenues for research for this audience as well.